Hi, I'm Teresa from Phoenix Gate Crafts, and today I wanted to talk about knowing when to stop. So this is something that, I don't know, it's just a bit of a brainchild of mine, because if you've been on social media in any kind of knitting, crochet, craft group, there's kind of this expectation that happens that everybody who crafts has to be doing their crafts in every free moment of every single day. And point of fact is that for some people that is really not healthy. There's this very unrealistic view we get from social media and hobby groups because everybody's posting what they do in their hobby. It starts to look after a while kind of like, wow, everybody's producing all of this stuff all the time. It's so overwhelming because all of these people are doing so much. They're putting out so much. They're knitting so much, because you see those posts. This one person's like, I know I've posted 3 times this week, but here's a 4th finished project. Somebody will post progress pictures throughout an entire week. Somebody will have just gotten super into this project and they've just spent 7 hours working on it. I saw one of those today, which kind of spurred this whole thing. But the problem with that is that we're not seeing the whole picture because it looks like, wow, that's a lot. Those are 3 different people. That's not the same person posting all of that stuff. The person who just posted 3 or 4 finished projects has been working on them for half a year and hasn't posted a thing. And you can do that if you type into the search bar in the group their name. The person who keeps posting progress pictures are probably working on something that's very challenging for them and they're feeling very proud of it. You'll notice that there's all this progress. It's still not finished and they're probably working solely on that. That person who worked for 7 hours on a project this one day, that doesn't mean that they work on a project for 7 hours every day. That just means they're excited about this project. And they had the chance to get super into it and they did it. And it's probably something a lot of other people wish that they could do, but they don't because, most of us have real life. And we don't get that lucky day off where we could just knit for 7 hours. And I know I can't sit that long. My butt would be pissed at me. So it makes me realize that we have this cultural thing in the knitting and crochet community where it always feels like we have to be producing. That because we end up with an end result that we have to constantly be making things. And the point of fact is that's not healthy, either physically or mentally. And let's talk about that a little bit. So physically speaking, we literally can't knit too much. I did a little bit of math, and it might be slightly off, but I calculated my total stitch count for a pair of socks. So my classic sock, when I choose to do legs, is about 15 rounds of cuff, about 50 rounds of leg. I do the fish lips kiss heel. I do about 50 or so rounds of foot depending on the stitch height of the specific yarn I'm using. And I do a wedge toe because that was way easier to calculate than the rounded toe. And I calculated this out to one sock being 10,136 stitches for one sock. That fits my feet, and I don't have particularly big feet. 2 socks is over 20,000 stitches, 20,200 70 something. And that's a lot of stitches. That is over 20,000 times doing the exact same motion with your hand. That is incredibly repetitive. So the thing with repetitive stress injuries, because you didn't see it going there, is that it doesn't necessarily take that much muscle to create them. It is literally just doing the same thing over and over again without taking proper breaks or precautions. So by doing something too much, by not listening to your body's natural inclination to get up, to move around, to stretch, chances are you can do damage. And carpal tunnel isn't the only repetitive stress injury you can get. You can also get tendonitis, tennis elbow. I'm sure there's more. I'm not a doctor. I don't know all the medical stuff. But these are very common ailments to knitters and crocheters because people aren't taking the appropriate amount of rest. So the minute your hand starts to feel tired, the minute you need to go pee, the minute you need a drink of water, speaking of, the minute your body's telling you that you need to break, your hand starts feeling like you need to just stretch it the other way a little bit. The back of your hand is starting to feel a little bit too warm. Your pinky's going numb. These are all signs that you need to stop for at least 20 minutes. Sometimes, depending on how bad it is, you need to stop for more. If you don't listen to your body once, it's probably not going to be that big of a deal. You might, feel some soreness the next day and it's not going to be that bad. You do that more than once, as you keep doing it, the chances of you doing something that's actually damaging to your hands, to your elbows, to your shoulders, to your back, to your head, it increases. So taking rests, frequent rests, taking stretch breaks. And I'm not just talking about stretching your hands. I mean, you can do that, but stretching your back out, twisting, reaching, playing Mario Kart with your husband. It doesn't really matter what you do as long as it's a break from knitting or crocheting or crafting. When you listen to your body, you have a greater chance of doing things that are actually beneficial to your body rather than harmful. And heaven knows, with so many of us having sit behind a desk jobs, we can stand to play a little bit of Wii Sports or go for a walk or something a little bit more physical as well. I know I can. I need to. But it isn't just physical. It's mental as well. So I know a lot of people, myself included, knit and crochet and any form of craft really, because we need that meditative movement. We need that meditative, calming, relaxing activity to help us manage our stress. The problem is, not everything in our crafting is stress-free. Things go wrong. Sometimes a pattern is more complicated than we originally thought. Sometimes we make mistakes and we have to go back. And the point of fact with this is that when we start getting irritated with our craft and things aren't going right and we just feel like we keep hitting a wall, that's the sign that we need to stop. Because the problem is, we get to this point where we get past irritated, where we get past frustrated, where we're hitting a wall and we're not doing anything good. We're just making ourselves more and more angry. And some people get to a point where they're just going to throw away this thing they've been working on and just throw it away. Well, that would be such a waste when sometimes it's just a problem with us, a small problem. We made one mistake and we're not in a good frame of mind to just go back, look at it, and fix it. And when we get to that point, there are consequences for our projects. There's consequences for our knitting life. I have heard people threaten to quit knitting because one project wasn't cooperating. That's not healthy, especially if normally, that knitting project or that crochet project is actually something that brings joy. And this all gets back to this pressure to constantly be producing. And I want to make sure to make a clarification here real quick. I'm not talking about somebody who's having a minor motivational issue where they're thinking, oh, okay, I want to knit, but I'm not feeling this project right now. I'm going to cast on another project. I'll only have 20 or 30 whips going now. I'm not talking about that. That person can probably just stand to shut up and work on something. I'm talking about exhaustion. I'm talking about so much frustration. Your mind isn't flexible anymore. Because you know the thing about the stick, and when it's flexible, it bends and it doesn't break. But you get a stick that's dried out instead and it snaps. Our minds are like that. When we're exhausted, we're that dried up twig that will snap. And when we snap, we sometimes do things with lasting repercussions. We become that person who gets so fed up with one little project that we give up knitting for an entire year because we forgot a yarn over. Yeah, I saw that on Facebook the other day. I thought it was quite sad that somebody gave up knitting for a year because they realized that the issue was they forgot the first yarn over. No wonder the stitch count wasn't working out. Sometimes it's important not to follow what we think is going on in the community we're part of, because we're not getting that complete picture. We're seeing things the way they're presented. We're not seeing things the way that they are. And I know that I never feel bad when I take a day where I'm not knitting. If I'm not knitting, I might take that day to crochet. If I don't crochet that day, I will pour resin. If I don't feel like pouring resin, I'll play video games, or I'll read a book, or I'll go for a walk with my husband, or whatever I want to do. Because here's the thing, this is my hobby. It's something I do in free time. My free time is literally free for me to do whatever the hell I want. And the same goes for you. If you don't want to knit one day, you don't have to, because you know that tomorrow you'll probably feel like knitting and you'll get back to it. If today you don't feel like crocheting, that's okay. You don't have to. Same goes for tomorrow. You don't have to. And when you feel like getting back to it, your fingers will itch and you'll pick up an old project, or even you'll cast on something new. And just like doing the whole KonMari thing, if it doesn't bring you joy, don't deal with it. And for example, I have a project. I have 2 projects that I haven't touched in months. I haven't touched one for damn near a year, mostly because I'm afraid it won't fit when I finish it. Because it's a colorwork vest that looks like stained glass windows. It is absolutely beautiful. I dyed one of the yarns myself. But if it doesn't fit, I'm going to be super disappointed. So I haven't felt like working on it because I'm pretty convinced it won't fit. And I've got another shirt that I'm making that I haven't worked on at all. And it's for the simple fact that it's a short sleeve shirt and it's winter right now that I'm filming this. So I don't feel bad about that. I'm not feeling those projects. I'm working on other stuff that I'm enjoying more. I'm creating a pattern for leg warmers. But that's what my passion is right now, and I'm enjoying it. And I'm producing something that I know I will wear and I know I will love. So anyway, we don't have to produce anything. We can let things sit. It won't kill us. And quite frankly, We need to keep our hobbies fun and enjoyable because that's the definition of hobbies. And I don't feel bad when I don't want to. And I don't feel bad when I take a break. And I don't feel bad for feeling the way that I feel. And the big point of it is that crafting should be happy for us. Anyway, I hope you found this helpful. Happy crafting. Bye.